our newest segment called More ZOPSLOP of the Cope Variety. And boy, do we have some doozies. First up on the list, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson went on the podcast of Stephen Miller's wife, and she asked him, of all the world leaders you've met, who is your favorite? Let's see what he had to say, Mike Johnson.
Today, MBS was here. Who's been your favorite world leader that you've met here in the Capitol, not overseas?
I will say he's a very engaging person, but I've gotten to meet a lot of heads of state. I've met my counterparts of other parliaments. I do think the Arab leader is the most intriguing. The King of Jordan has come a few times, but I hosted Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister, for a joint address to Congress, and that was a big evening for us and for me, and I was glad to host him. So I'm probably closest to him.
Oof, that is a big yikes in 2025. He wants that on the record, huh? That's what we're going with. Okay, Mike Johnson, it's going to be fun playing that at your tribunal, but go off, I guess.
What's the most underrated thing about MBS that nobody knows, based on your experience?
His sense of humor.
But in any sane world, an interviewer would have been like, oh, of all the world leaders, the one that most impressed you was the one that is wanted by all of the international courts for the crime of genocide? So the genocidal war criminal is your favorite, Mike Johnson. All right, apparently there's this other Zionist who's some Zionist billionaire. Let's see, this is the latest from the Oppenheimers. They're converging at these conferences lately, and they're just giving speeches to their audience, and they're basically just crying throughout, coping about how they've lost the information war, they've lost the PR battle, despite owning all of the transnational corporate media that is tasked with setting the agenda and setting the framework for public discourse. They've lost that, so they're crying about it on stage. Let's hear the latest.
Sadly, talking about anti-Semitism no longer works. It should,
Damn, the victim card has been expired. Anti-Semitism, it doesn't work now to cry about anti-Septicism.
Anti-Semitism is incredibly real. It's rising like crazy. You have even a simple thing like Dave Portnoy.
Gee, I wonder why. Why is it always characteristic of these people to tell you all of the things that are happening to them without telling you what they might be doing?
Who's a
maybe
entrepreneur and podcaster. Just yesterday, some young right-wing kid threw money at him and called him a dirty Jew, and Dave didn't back down. You have these types of things happening every day. So anti-Semitism is rising.
Oh my God! Somebody called Dave Portnoy a dirty J. I mean, it's almost as bad as some Orthodox Shlomo going around graffitiing with antiseptic symbols of hate. I mean, what will they ever do? It's such a tragedy to be called a name. I wonder, is Dave Portnoy's family doing okay? Their houses weren't 5 a.m., were they? Because of their religion? Because they take up space in their home? Does Dave still have all his limbs? I think Dave might be doing okay. Isn't Dave like a millionaire? Oh, man. It's like, I was walking down the street and somebody called me a honky. Somebody called me a honky the other day, and my day was just real. I'm the victim of racism.
Like crazy.
This is a cool little symbol, though. I like the decal here. That's pretty clever. Z3, the Z3 conference. That's sharp. That's real sharp.
But we're at a point where people are so tired of anti-Semitism, and young people feel.
Why does he keep doing this? He's like, let me get this cope out.
It's like they just don't have the opportunities that they want or promised. And when you talk about anti-Semitism, their eyes glaze over and they're like, you don't get it. I want to talk about me. And so there's just we need new tactics, and we need to understand I think to protect Israel and to protect the Israeli economy, you actually have to understand what's happening in America, and you have to try to deal with the issues.
Yeah, why is that? He's like, to protect Israel and to protect the Israeli economy, you have to understand what's happening in America. It's a dead giveaway. It's a dead giveaway, Berg and Heimer.
Here.
Golly, the mental gymnastics they go to make sure, because in order for these Zionists to continue enjoying their space, their status in the world, this overrepresented status they have, they need anti-Septicism to thrive, and it needs to be effective. In order for them to stay relevant, they have to have it sounds crazy to say, but they have to have a monopoly on victimhood. They have to be the one and only chosen victims. And if they don't, if they lose that, if people no longer see them as victims, then their power starts to decline. Let's just say that. And it is happening right now.
Sadly, talking about anti-Semitism no longer works. It should, like anti-Semitism is incredibly real. It's rising like crazy.
It's like of all the things, all the things that you could think of in the past years that you could ascribe the word sadly, the adverb sadly to. It's the fact that crying about anti-Semitism doesn't work anymore. Doesn't work in the service of what, We're talking, but you have to contextualize this. We're talking about Israel and its maintenance of these violent policies that are internationally condemned. And it's sadly their excuse for all that is no longer working, is basically what he's saying. And everyone is saying the same thing, and they say it in different ways, but they all say the same thing. They need new tactics. They need to pivot. What they're doing is not working. They've lost.
Crazy, you have even a simple thing like Dave Portnoy, who's a entrepreneur and podcaster. Just yesterday, some young right-wing kid threw money at him and called him a dirty Jew. And
wait, they gave him money so he was richer after being prejudiced against? I want to be persecuted like that, where people just throw money at me. This is pretty upsetting. I saw this earlier. These kids are going cuckoo for Bezalel Smotrich, these young Israeli teeny boppers. Look at this. Look at these kids. They can't believe they're just so starstruck. Oh, he's just... Look at... Oh my God, they're giving him bear hugs. This is Israel's future. This is what the next generation is brewing up. The reaction of some Israeli kids when they saw the war criminal and racist Smotrich cheering, smiling, and rushing to greet him shows how deeply normalized hatred has become in Israel. When children idolize those who promote violence and racism, the future promises even darker days. It's like, Justin Bieber just walked in the room or something. Nope, that's just a guy that is responsible for mass murder. It's just crazy because you see that. I just can't get over it. I have more comments about it, but they love talking about that T word, and then when an actual T wordist shows up in the room, they just fawn. But when it's Palestinians trying to live their lives, they are scorned, and I have to choose my words very carefully here. But I think you get what I'm trying to get at here. So let's keep going.
That is actually how you get Jewish continuity. So then how do you raise Jewish kids? Again, people want all the...
Talk about a stereotype. This is how we get Jewish kids. We need Jewish continuity. This is how you get Jewish continuity. We need Jewish kids. Right? This is every Jewish guy remembers, that Passover Seder with the fingers waving in the face and this. Yeah. He is really, wow. What a guy.
Kids, that is actually how you get Jewish continuity. So then how do you raise Jewish kids? Again, people want all these solutions. The reality is formative experiences, putting kids in actual bubbles, in Jewish bubbles during their formative years. Formative
experiences, yes. When their brains are not quite fully developed, you've got to spew at them Zionist indoctrination.
Because when they're in those Jewish bubbles, that's when Judaism comes alive. And that's also...
Go live in your bubble. Got to put those Jews in the bubble.
Oh, by the way, while they're forming all their key relationships with their closest friends, who, despite what any of us think, will have much more influence on these kids than any of us will, all right? Who the kids spend their time with. So whether it is in a Jewish day school, and I think Jewish day school is like a no-brainer. Just 3 data points. There have been a series of studies. One, alumni of Jewish day schools are 2 times more likely than their peers to be very proud and very public about their Jewish identity. They're 4 times as likely to proudly identify and support the state of Israel, okay?
4 times as likely to support the state of Israel. So he's telling you here, which is a version of what Sarah Hurwitz said, take the smartphones away from them until they're 18, right? This is a cult. It's a cult.
He's describing a cult.
Don't let the children see outside the walls of the cults.
Yep.
Right?
Like Amish people.
It's exactly what he's talking about here. Tell me this is not a cult.
That's probably a slight against Amish. The Amish aren't bad, right? They don't really do anything bad. How dare I compare that to Zionists?
And beyond it being a cult, I say this about the Israelis over and over again. You know, this is something psychological. It's innate in all humans. If you have a certain attitude about the way you are perceived, you will invite that attitude upon you. In other words, the Israelis, and broadly speaking, I mean, what he's talking,
Sure, just kind of chilling.
what he's talking about here is not fringe.
Yeah, the Amish are heroes compared to Zionists. And don't they just like, look, you can leave the country, you know, you can leave Amish country if you want, like after they hit a certain age or something. Like they allow them to just, you can assimilate if you wish.
Within Judaism.
Apparently, if you try to assimilate with the rest of the world, according to Zionists, you are one who descends.
You know, notably sort of insular in this way.
Yeah, the Amish just want to be left alone. They're not here to cause misery.
If you act as if the world hates you, you will cause the world to hate you, right? You will invite the hatred of the world upon you because you're acting as if they already hate you. So then you're naturally going to treat them as an enemy. And if you treat people as an enemy, you're going to make people enemy, right? And that's what he's talking about here. Anything to add? Because he tosses to the other two geniuses on the panel pretty soon.
Yeah, well, you know, this is why you have not as extreme as what he's described, but you have this network of Hebrew schools around the country, and I've talked about my experience with it. It wasn't Hebrew school, it was Zionist school. Like the things that they would tell you, like if you go to like Catholic school, they're going to tell you Bible stories. All of their stories were centered on bad people oppressing Jews, and that's why you need Israel. Everything was centered on Israel, dedication to it.
It's a good point, Ryan. The Amish wear large hats in contrast to the Zionists who wear tiny ones.
Today, some 5% of non-Orthodox Jewish kids in America are in Jewish day schools. That is a tragedy. And if there's one lesson...
That is a tragedy, Steen. This is a tragedy.
...we can take after these last 2 years is there should now be a Jewish renaissance.
Yes, we need a Jewish renaissance. We need more people to be enlightened to the ways of our Judaism. People don't know enough about the Jewish people. We need more organizations devoted to Jewish preciousness, the precious hood of Judaism.
And Jewish education and Jewish
This is a tragedy. We're losing our future Jews.
And just figure out that is like, and the challenge is that
you have the Jewish state.
We're so much better than everyone, and let me tell you why.
Commit a genocide in broad daylight for 2 years straight for the world to see. And the lesson he gleans from that is that we're not brainwashing people enough into thinking that's okay. I mean, this is how insane these people are. They are insane. They are crazy.
Well, and the whole premise, I just finished The Invention of the Jewish People, which I would highly recommend. Something I learned from it, I actually did not know. Judaism was a proselytizing religion, which, you know, on the level of we are the people of that land, which was already insane, that just really torches whatever claim to that you could possibly have. Like part of the core of that is people have assumed that Jews were always insular that way, so they're uniquely genetically consistent across generations.
Yes, they're genetically consistent, which is a euphemism for inbred.
And, you know, there may be some intermarriage, but no, the Jews proselytized quite a lot. The reason they stopped doing it is once the Roman Empire became Christianized, it became illegal upon penalty of death for you to proselytize as a Jew. So Judaism became very inward looking at that point. But it wasn't always that way. This is a product of it having been outlawed. But also just the whole premise of this, like, you're not descended from that land.
Right.
You are descended from people who converted to Judaism. The people you're killing are clearly, as again, that's also in that book. I would very highly recommend it. The early Zionists said that openly. They assumed that those Palestinians were descended from the Jews and that they had converted to Islam because there are Hebrew words in their Arab dialect there that don't exist in other people's dialect. Why do they have that?
Right.
They started to deny that when the Palestinians were not cool with them taking their land.
Uninterest, like when you tell people this, like the big philanthropists, they look at you like, because they only know of giving to the school that their kid went to or the school they want their kid to go to.
We should have, like, the challenge to our community and people in this room should be, how can we collectively make Jewish day school the price of Catholic school?
Right. I remember, actually, after my 92nd CY, you said that. So you said it should be the Catholic school model.
I am a product of everything you say. All of the resources that my parents had.
Oh, well, I guess we should reconsider.
The Jewish day schools.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, that explains it. That is a mystery solved.
Jewish camps. We didn't go on vacation. Everything went to that.
Right.
Okay? And the idea, though, that it's the price that it is, given the amount of capital in our community, it makes my blood boil.
Yeah.
This is where all of the resources in our community should go without exception. This is it. Judaism is a peoplehood and a civilization. We do not adhere to modern categories because we're more ancient than all of those categories.
We're more ancienter. We're more categories than categories. We don't adhere to there's always this implicit theme of we are better than you. We don't conform to all of the other people's rules. We are separate, okay? It's literally, the Mr. Mustachioed Man and his gangbangers would say the same thing about what they're doing. It might seem like we're doing bad things, but you got to remember we represent humanity, the master chosen people. If we do bad things, it's in the service of a greater good. Okay. Yes, more ancient, but not more ancient than like 3,000 years ago. As ancient as you can get is obviously 3,000 years ago. There's nothing. Humans did not exist before then. There's no civilizations. History sort of like started right then, and then it abruptly stopped like, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, and then it restarted in 1948. Okay.
And so, but because we've done such a
Just
poor
so you know.
job of explaining what we are to people, to say, I have no problem with Judaism, amazing faith, incredible people. It's just Israel I have a problem with. We need to do
In the beginning, the Jews. In the beginning, the Godhead Berg created the Jews.
better job of explaining that our connection to Israel is a part of who we are as a peoplehood and a
And he took the next 6 days off because he said, I did a mitzvah.
civilization.
Well, as Russ just said, that's ahistorical nonsense.
Yes.
That's just nonsense.
I would
Let's
say
hear this
that
guy.
the first thing you need to do is inculcate this when your kids are like 3 or 4 years old. I'm dead serious. It's not a thing that you read. You don't become pro-America because you read a book when you were 14, and you don't become pro-Jewish because you read a book when you were 14. You become pro-America because you went to a 4th of July parade with your parents and had a hot dog when you were 3 years old.
You gotta get them young, guys.
Or
That's
in
what
my
he's saying.
case, because you watched 1776.
You gotta indoctrinate them when they're 3 and 4 years old. Sing them colonial nursery rhyme songs. Whatever you gotta do.
Musical on a loop when you were 5. I know all the lyrics, right? And the reason that you're pro-Jewish.
It's like, think about it. They're clearly coping because they've lost the young generation. They're like, damn, what did we do wrong? And they're all like gaming this out, like Monday morning quarterback. Well, Ben Shapiro says we just didn't start young enough. We got to go to when they were 3 and 4 years old, the earliest possible time in a human's life, a child's life, where they form an actual memory. As soon as they understand object permanence, that's when we got to hit them with the Jewish supremacist ideology. They're like, we didn't start young enough.
Is because you went to shul with your parents from the time that you were a little kid, and you made kiddush on Friday nights with your parents.
Didn't
and you
take with
traveled to
me.
Israel regularly with your parents, right? That's the reason you do this sort of stuff. People live through their experiences. I think we spend a lot of time, with the life of the mind, a place like Tikva. All of us on stage are constantly engaging in the life of the mind. But the truth is that what Judaism really is a way of life, and that's Americanism too. It's a way of life. It's a way you navigate the world and act in the world. And you don't
look at
pick
you.
that up. You pick that. You read the book, and then it strikes you as true that the thing that it's saying about the life that you live is real. But the way that you actually live in the world and the way you navigate the world is inculcated from the time you're very young. young. So what I would say is
inculcated. It's inculcated, guys.
When they bring you your order, you send it back at least once, because you've seen everyone else in your family send back the order at least once. It's tradition among our people, so we might have to eat a little weight or phlegm as a result, but this is our custom.
that all of our job is to take our kids, our grandkids, and put them in the experiences that are going to make them more pro-America and more pro-Jewish. And if you do that over and over and over, then the books are just going to feel like a confirmation of that stuff when they finally come across those books and they're able to understand those books at 14, 15, 16 years old.
All right, we get the point there. Thank you, Ben.
Okay.
These are the same people who in the same panel are talking about how they are restoring trust in media and finally catering to the broad swath of 75% of Americans to know what they actually want. In the same panel discussion, they are literally talking about walling off their people the way a cult walls off their people.
Right.
And their children. So
it's exactly.
And after you wall off the Jew, you got to kiss that wall.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, if you take them at their word in this portion of the conversation, then go back and listen to the other segment that we just did about how they are restoring trust in media and casting a broad net and appealing. What they're saying is they're going to brainwash people into their ideology. That's what they mean by, oh, yeah, we're going to go cater to the 75%. By cater to, you mean brainwash. Because you're saying here in this same discussion, the same exact discussion, we have to create a Jewish bubble for Jewish people to come up and understand how exceptional the Jewish way of life is. And then you're going to say, moments later or moments earlier, whatever the order it was in the conversation, that you're playing it down the middle and just reflecting what the society already expects from news. It couldn't be more obvious bullshit.
Even the idea, and she says, see, now from reading this book, my ear's more attuned to the lingo, where she says, we are a people. That was a problem that the early Zionists had to overcome. The fact that clearly this is not one people, right? They didn't see themselves that way. The very earliest Zionists saw Zionism as being specifically for the Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews, the Yiddish speakers. They saw it as specifically being for them originally. This idea that North African Jews and Near Eastern Jews, that there are people, they didn't originally believe that. There were a lot of different practices, the way that we think of Judaism, which is really this Eastern Europe shtetl culture, that's not common to all Jews. That's not a common culture to all Jews. So at that point, what are you talking about? This is part of why they had to fall back on biology, because they weren't really able to make this argument.
Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to the page to help it grow. And if you'd like to support my work, join my Patreon for exclusive content.